maybe something will come of it. I want to thank Governor Shapiro and all the Bucks County officials and their leadership during that tragic time. We provided all we could from FEMA, but there's a lot to be done. I'm here today to talk about what we're doing to invest in America, invest in Pennsylvania, invest in our clean energy future, and to talk about the progress we made building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up. You know, I came to office determined to strengthen the middle class. I often say, and I mean it sincerely, you know, Wall Street, good folks down there, but they didn't build the middle class. They didn't build America. The middle class was built by the middle class, and the unions built the middle class, and to change the economic direction of this country. Because I got tired of trickle-down economics. I've never been a big fan. If the wealthy do very well, I'm a capitalist. I like the wealthy to be able to people be wealthy. But if the mere fact they do well doesn't mean everybody else does well. I watched my dad growing up. There's not a whole lot of benefit trickle down on his kitchen table as a consequence of trickle-down economics to what everyone from the Financial Times and Wall Street Journal has become my different philosophy. I don't think they started off trying to be complimentary, but they started calling them Bidenomics. And our plans work in Bidenomics. We're here. Here's what it looks like. We're 13 million new jobs built across the country, nearly 500,000 of them here in Pennsylvania just in the last 2.5 years. 800,000 manufacturing jobs, 28,000 here in Pennsylvania alone in the last 2.5 years. That's more jobs in 2 years than any president has created in a 4-year term. Unemployment is below 4%, the longest stretch of unemployment below 4% in the last 50 years. We're beginning to come back, folks. Because we're giving workers a chance. Unemployment's down, but to the surprise of a lot of economists, so is inflation. Remember the story? In order for inflation to come down, you got to cut wages for hard-working folks. You got to have unemployment up in order for inflation to come down. Well, guess what? I never bought that. I don't think the problem in America is too many people are working or the people are making too much money. Instead, we focused on getting Americans into the workforce by fixing a broken supply chain, lowering the cost of product from everything from health care to the products we purchase. Fact is, companies made record high profits during the pandemic. And by the way, I'm not opposed to companies. I come from the corporate capital of the world. More corporations incorporated in Delaware than every other state in the union. But everybody should pay their fair share. Everybody should pay their fair share. Now they're coming down, and so is inflation. We need to keep bringing it down, the markups and the margins of the profits. It's one thing to make a profit, it's another thing to be excessive. You know, this is one of the most important ways to continue to make progress on inflation. We have to do more. Inflation has slowed every single month in the last 12, on a yearly basis for the last 12 months. How many times you read that a recession's coming? Even Wall Street today said, no, they don't see a recession coming now. It's the lowest point, inflation, the lowest point in over 2 years. The U.S. has the lowest inflation rate of any major economy in the world, the so-called G7. It's less than 2/3 of what it was a year ago, down from 9% to 3%, and going to go down lower. At the same time, pay for low-wage workers has gone up at a faster pace than over 2 decades. Wages are growing faster than inflation. That means a lot of working folks are beginning to be able to have a little bit of breathing room. According to the surveys, job satisfaction in America is at a 36-year high. We got more work to do. But people are coming off the sidelines to work. The share of working-age Americans in the workforce is as high as it's been in 20 years, including during every single day under my predecessor. And folks, it's not an accident. It's my economic plan in action. It's Bidenomics. Since I took office, we've attracted over $500 billion in private investment in American manufacturing and clean energy. That's what's been attracted to engage in these issues. Instead of exporting jobs, it used to be find the cheapest market in the world, send the job overseas and bring the product back. Not on my watch. What here we're doing, we're creating jobs in America, and we're exporting American products. With the leadership of your Democratic members of Congress, we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, although a few Republicans did support it. The largest investment to combat climate ever anywhere in the world. Over $368 billion. We know the urgency. I don't hear many naysayers on climate deny the floods, the heat waves, the wildfire smoke impacting so many Americans. Just this week alone, it's just spontaneous. We also have solutions. A lot of my friends in organized labor know when I think climate, I think jobs. I think union jobs, not a joke. Not a joke. This law is creating millions of good-paying, clean energy manufacturing jobs, including offshore wind. When I took office, I set a goal of producing 30 gigawatts of offshore energy wind by 2030. 30 gigawatts is enough to power 10 million homes. It'll help put us on a path to 100% clean energy by 2035. By 2035, all of the electricity you turn in is all going to be clean energy. It's not hypothetical. Construction is already underway in 2 major projects off the East Coast. And just within the last month, the Department of Interior advanced permitting on 2 more wind projects on the East Coast. And here in the Philly shipyard, Great Lakes Dredge and Dock is also stepping up to help meet the clean energy goals. Here today, workers in 9 different unions will start building a vessel called the Acadia. It's going to place heavy rocks at the base of the offshore wind projects to stabilize them when they put these down. And it's going to protect it against erosion. Be the first vessel of its kind that's made in America, American-owned, American-operated. And the rocks will come from American quarries. And it'll be loaded at American ports. Steel for vessels being made by the United States steelworkers in Indiana. The engine will be made in the United States electrical, radio, and machine workers in Pittsburgh. The crew is going to be American mariners from Seafarers International Union. The turbines themselves will be as tall as the buildings in Center City, Philadelphia. That's how big they are. And the blades, 110 yards long. I went to see them being made in Colorado. It's breathtaking. And I might add, notwithstanding what the other guy said, windmills do not cause cancer. Look, some folks may not know there was a law in 1920 called the Jones Act that was passed. It says ships traveling between U.S. ports have to be American-built, American-owned, and have American crews. But there's some content to rely on ships built overseas without American crews to operate them. Again, not on my watch. We're strengthening American shipbuilding, supporting good union jobs, and bringing offshore wind supply chains back home. Before the pandemic, supply chain wasn't a phrase that most Americans ever thought about. But today, after delays in parts and products, everybody knows what a supply chain means and why they matter. Our Investing in America agenda is bringing our clean energy supply chains home. Since I took office, we've seen more than $16 billion in new offshore wind investments, including 18 offshore wind vessels, 12 manufacturing facilities, and 13 ports. Today, we announced the first ever offshore wind sale in the Gulf of Mexico. We're going to the Gulf. I think I'm kidding. Ain't seen nothing yet. Across the Delaware River in Paulsboro, New Jersey, workers are welding the steel foundation for another large-scale wind project. That's going to create more than 3,000 good-paying jobs. The project off the coast of New York will use a vessel built in the shipyards of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Florida, rely on electrical substations, engineered in Kansas and made in Texas. The Inflation Reduction Act offers tax credits for projects using American-made iron, steel, manufactured projects, so our clean energy future will be made in America. I mean it. And all this investment, you know it better than any group of people I could be talking to, all this investment means good-paying jobs here at home. Here at home. We're making sure these new jobs come free and fair, and the ability to join a union if you're not already in a union. I made a commitment that I'd be the most pro-union president in American history. And I'm keeping that promise. Let me explain why. I met with the Business Roundtable, the leading businessmen in the nation. And they asked me why. I said, because it's good for you. I tell business all the time, union workers are the best in the world. You don't just say, by the way, I want to be an electrician. Here's my license. The young woman you just heard, she's not an electrician, but guess what? 4 to 5 years of apprenticeship. It's like going back to school. It's like going to college for 4 years. You do the job right, they do it on time, and long-term it costs less than non-union labor. And here at the Philly shipyard, over 1,000 union workers will be employed on site, like metal workers, boiler makers, electricians. In fact, this shipyard runs an apprentice program giving workers the skills to do these jobs. They can earn up to $100,000 a year, and you don't need a college degree. Just a few years ago, this shipyard was down to a handful of workers. As these guys know, I've been coming here for a long, long time, since 1973, when it was a Navy shipyard. And a lot of us wondered whether it would still be here, didn't we? A lot of us wondered 15, 10, 12 years ago. Well, let me tell you, it's coming alive again. Just this week, my administration completed a review of a potential wind project off the coast of Rhode Island and Connecticut. It's part of the National Project Labor Agreement with the building trades. And I want to thank the AFL-CIO President Liz Shuler for personally getting that done. Together, we're transforming the country, not just through manufacturing, but also rebuilding our infrastructure. We need to have the best infrastructure in the world if we're going to lead the world. We used to be number 1. We now rank number 13 in the world. Highways, bridges, how can we be number 1 in the world? Economically. You can have the best economy without having the best infrastructure. So the bipartisan infrastructure law, which a number of our colleagues did vote for on both sides of the aisle, I've already announced 35,000 projects in 4,500 communities all across America, proving we can do big things. By the way, right here in Philly, we're going to build billion-dollar tunnels underneath the water as you go from Amtrak station heading north. It's going to increase the speeds of trains. Be able to go through it 100 miles an hour instead of 30. And guess what? When you get to point A to point B and you can do it on rail and leave your car home, people leave their cars home. Saves money, saves the environment. There's no better example than here in Philadelphia. A tanker truck crashed, closed the key stretch of I-95 last month. You remember that. 150,000 vehicles crossed that part of the highway. 150,000 every single day. With the leadership of Governor Shapiro, Casey, Fetterman, Boyle, Kenny, it opened in less than 2 weeks. Hear that? 2 weeks. Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. I mean, think about it, all kidding aside. When we were saying that on the bridge, people were looking at us like, oh God, here they go again. It's a record time, and guess what? Used materials from right here in Pennsylvania. All that crushed glass, all that base, and it was done with union work. Also announced $78 million for safety improvements along Roosevelt Boulevard here in Philly, from North Broad to the Bucks County line. Between 2012 and 2021, accident along that stretch of highway killed 119 people. And I don't know how many injured. 119 died. Nearly 1 in 3 Philadelphians lives within a mile of their, I mean thousands of families, will benefit when we make that a hell of a lot safer. Removing every single lead pipe in America, including an estimated 20,000 lead pipe lines here in Philly and thousands of lead pipes in school fountains all across America, including here in Philadelphia. They're a risk to everyone's health, especially our children. We're making investments like this in communities all across the country, in red states, blue states, it doesn't matter. I'm president for everybody. And I said that no matter whether they voted for me or against me, I'd make sure we change this. You can see exactly where this money is going if you're interested. Go to online, go to invest.gov and find out what's happening in your community. Because that you know, we talked about, remember Infrastructure Week? Well, we have infrastructure a decade. And guess what? It's committed $1.3 trillion. And guess what else? I lowered the federal deficit by $1.7 trillion in the first 2 years. You can do both. You know, the reason I'm saying this is we've operated on principles that haven't been working. My Invest in America agenda also had another transformative impact. All those members of Congress who voted against the bill suddenly realized it's pretty good, and they're bragging about it. I found it interesting. As you may have seen, apparently 40 million people watched. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the very conservative gentlelady from the state of Georgia, said Biden is doing things like Roosevelt, and it goes on the line as if in creating these jobs, and he thinks that. I thought that was, I never had an endorsement from her before. But all kidding aside, every single Republican voted against the Inflation Reduction Act. And now many are trying to repeal, you know, and it was in order, the whole reason for the act was to repeal the clean energy provisions. That's why they voted no. It didn't stop them from claiming credit. Now the billions of dollars and thousands of jobs are coming to their states. Then there's this distinguished senator from Alabama, a former coach of a winning football team at University of Alabama, Senator Tuberville. You know, the one who's blocking the nominations of America's finest military leaders, jeopardizing our national security over domestic social issues. Well, he's also strongly opposed to the bipartisan infrastructure law. And now I listen to him on television. He voted against it, and here's what he says now. Great to see Alabama receive critical funds to boost ongoing broadband efforts. Thought it was a bad idea to invest in that. But now it's coming to Alabama, and hot damn boy, it's a good thing. Look, I'm glad the senator's coming around on the infrastructure law, but I'm not going to let up until he comes around in the critical military nominations as well. Let me close with this. I'm not here to declare victory. We got a long way to go in the economy. But I'm here to say we have more work to do. We have a plan that's turning things around pretty quickly. Bidenomics is just another way of saying restore the American dream. 40 years of trickle-down economic and Democrat and Republican administrations limited the dream to those at the top. But I believe every American willing to work hard should be able to get a job no matter where they live, in the heartland, in a small town, in big cities, to raise their kids on a good paycheck, keep roofs over their heads where they grew up, be able to stay there. My dad used to have an expression, I swear to God this was an expression, as kids growing up. This is how he'd say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay. And he meant it. He never got to go to college, but he meant it. He worked like hell. Jobs are about dignity. That's the American dream. That's Bidenomics, and rooted in what always worked best for this country. Investing in America. Investing in Americans. Because when you invest in our people, you strengthen the middle class. We see stronger economic growth that benefits everybody. The rich still do very well, and they should be able to do well. When I-95 shut down last month, nobody thought we'd have it back open in less than 2 weeks. But with American ingenuity, American workers, we proved everybody wrong. I don't know about you, but it filled me with pride about what we can do when we work together. We work together on that project. The same will be true here in Philly Shipyard with the clean energy future we're building all across America. It will be transformational. And for thousands of families who rely on good jobs for these projects create. It means restoring a sense of pride, a sense of hope, a sense of dignity that got lost somewhere along the way. For the longest time, we've been told to give up on manufacturing in America. How many times have you heard, to read the paper the last 25 years, we can never lead the world of manufacturing again? Well, we are and we will. We'll never believe that. I've never believed it, and I don't think most of you did. This nation used to lead the world of manufacturing. We're going to do it again. I know the people of this country, and I can say honestly, I have never been more optimistic about America's future than I am this very day. I swear to God. I've long said to other world leaders, and I know almost every one of them personally, met them, it's never been a good bet to bet against America. It's never, never, never. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity if we work together. So God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. This is a new day. We're work to do. We're going to get it done. Thank you.